And there are calls to lock down parts of Melbourne with an alarming increase in coronavirus cases across 6 areas in the city. Today, reporter Christina Hearn leads us off. And Chris, what's the health advice?
Ali, good morning. Well, Australia's top medical officials are strongly discouraging people travelling to and from these 6 local areas for non-essential reasons. They are Hume, Casey, Brimbank, Moreland, Cardinia and Darebin. The Health Minister also tweeting last night that if needed, stay-at-home directions will be targeted in these areas. It comes as restrictions were ramped up once again last night in Victoria. So you can now only have 5 guests at your home instead of 20. That is because family gatherings really fanned the spread of this virus. Outdoor gatherings are once again restricted to 10. Restaurants, cafes and pubs, they were gearing up to be allowed to have 50 people as of today. Well, now that stays at 20. Victoria Police also say that they will be once again ramping up patrols of those hotspots and dishing out fines when needed. Despite the crackdown, there is some positive news. For the first time, gyms have been allowed to reopen today. I'm at a family-run gym, One Fitness in Brighton. Here are the owners, Dave, Anna, their kids, Polly and Parker. Dave, how tough has this been?
Oh, it's been super tough, but we're open now. We're looking forward to getting our members back.
We're so pleased that you are finally able to open today. Ali, it is one bright spot in an otherwise pretty bleak situation that the Chief Health Officer has described as a tipping point.
Yeah, good to see the doors open there. Thanks, Chris.
The AFL season is again in crisis this morning as Victorian health officials try to trace anyone who came in contact with Essendon player Connor McKenna. Isabella Stashkowski is at AFL House for us. Several players could be sidelined.
That's certainly right, and the entire Bombers season could be in jeopardy, Carl. It's still unclear just how many players would have to be sidelined, but we just had Shane Crawford on the program speaking about this a little earlier, and he says he really does feel sorry for the 24-year-old.
No player wants to be the headline or someone that's trying to stop the AFL from continuing on. So I'm sure they'll all get around him. He's a good young man and hopefully he'll get back out on the field very, very soon.
Now, Carl, the entire Bombers team will be tested today at Marvel Stadium, and it is certainly going to be a very nervous wait for those results.
Thank you.
The rising cases in Victoria have been dubbed a wake-up call for the rest of the nation, with state leaders now grappling with the possibility of a second wave. We have reporters in New South Wales and Queensland. First to Gabrielle Boyle in Sydney. Gabby, good morning. How is the New South Wales government handling these concerns?
Good morning, Alex. Well, the New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian will meet with the Chief Medical Officer today to discuss an action plan, exactly how we handle this situation here in New South Wales. Of course, the school holidays are coming up both for Victoria and New South Wales, and many people like to travel interstate. Whether that is safe and best practice, well, that's going to be one of the many things that they discuss during that meeting today. It's worth a great deal of money to our economy having people travel interstate, so naturally we're keen to see that up and running as soon as possible, but we're also very keen to make sure that we maintain those very low numbers of coronavirus here in New South Wales. Alex, I strongly suspect it's going to be a very long time before we see the domestic terminal here at Sydney Airport back up and running at full capacity.
Indeed. Gabby, thank you. Let's go north of the Tweed now to Jessica Millward in Brisbane. Jess, g'day. Could this spike affect the reopening of our country?
Morning, Alex. It could do. Here in Queensland, our state government is watching what's happening in Victoria very closely. They've declared all of Melbourne a hotspot and five suburbs on the outskirts hotspots as well. So what that means is anyone travelling from those areas, even if you are a Queensland resident, if you come to the Sunshine State, you must isolate for 14 days. Now, we had 0 cases of coronavirus here in Queensland yesterday. We've only had 8 in the past 3 weeks. So our state health minister says he makes no excuses for putting Queenslanders first. Meanwhile, South Australia, the July 20 reopening to the whole country is now under review in WA. While we don't yet have a date, the Premier there, Mark McGowan, says he is watching what's happening in Victoria very closely when making his decisions. The Northern Territory will push forward with their planned reopening, and that is what the federal government's position is. They say there is still no medical evidence to keep the borders closed. However, infectious disease experts say we should be worried.
What happens in Victoria could be happening in another state within a few weeks. and it only takes a few people to sneak through across the border and you've suddenly got a surge.
So a lot of uncertainty at the moment, but we should see some certainty as to where to next for Queensland's borders when the Premier reassesses things on June 30. Alex?
Jess, thank you.
Turning to breaking news in Melbourne now, and a man is fighting for his life after being stabbed in the CBD. 9's Stephanie Anderson is on the scene. And Steph, what do we know?
Well, Ali, we know that this is still very much an active crime scene behind me here on Market Street. In fact, we've only just seen detectives arrive here at the scene as police continue to try to piece together exactly what has played out just after 5 this morning. What we do know is that a man in his 20s has suffered those life-threatening injuries, and the offenders who inflicted those wounds have managed to flee. Now, that victim was rushed to hospital in a critical condition. Right now, as I say, this is still very much an active crime scene, and police say they're investigating whether or not the parties involved were known to one another. Ali?
OK, thanks, Stephanie.
A touching tribute out of the UK for a school teacher killed in a park west of London as British police this morning declared the stabbing rampage a terror attack. Europe correspondent Ben Avery is in reading for us this morning where the incident happened. Ben, what do we know about this victim?
Carl, his name was James Furlong. He was a 36-year-old history teacher who has been described by his colleagues as gentle and inspiring. His family has also released a statement saying James was a wonderful man. He was beautiful, intelligent, honest and fun. He was the best son, brother, uncle and partner you could wish for. We are thankful for the memories he gave us all. Now, today, we've also put a name to the alleged offender. His name is Khairi Sadullah. He is a 25-year-old Libyan refugee who right now is in custody over what happened here at around 7 o'clock on Saturday evening. I can tell you that his neighbours are very surprised by these allegations. Take a listen.
I used to actually chill with him and sit with him and have a laugh with him. He seemed all right. Never thought he'd be a terrorist. Never thought it'd be even anything to do with that or associated with that, because he's never shown any signs. How can someone be like that and be so normal 2 days ago and then just go do that?
Now, Carl, there are some interesting details starting to emerge. Reports that this man has only recently been released from jail and that potentially at one stage last year he did come on the radar of the British Security Service. Carl?
Ben Avery, thank you.
Get out your puffer jackets and your Uggies, Queensland. A cold snap is heading your way. Temperatures could plummet as low as 6 degrees this week, which could deliver Brisbane its coldest night of the year. The lucky few who managed to score tickets to visit the New South Wales snowfields this year can now hit the slopes, with the ski season officially kicking off today. Resorts are operating at half capacity, Thredbo's website crashing as thousands tried to book a winter getaway. Long lines are expected, but skiers will enjoy a quiet mountain and fresh powder with a high chance of snow expected today. Let's check your sport now, and it's the nightmare scenario the AFL was dreading. Less than 2 weeks into the return to action, Essendon defender Conor McKenna has tested positive to COVID-19. This has thrown the entire season into disarray. For more, we're joined by Nine's Tony Jones. Good morning, TJ.
Hello, Alex. How are you?
Good, my man. McKenna is now being investigated by the AFL for a possible breach of that COVID-19 protocol. Do we know yet how he got the virus?
Well, no, we don't. But what we do know is that there have been these possible breaches, one being an open house inspection, which is a real grey area as far as the protocols are concerned, because whilst you can go to a house inspection if it's for a sale or whether you're selling that house, you can't actually go one if it's for a rental property. So a very quirky grey area, that one. Yeah. There's also a suggestion, and it appears as though, because he does come from Ireland, that he had a foster football family here, that he also visited that family. Now, if that's the case, then Conor McKenna is in real danger of facing a very, very lengthy suspension. So that's one of the things that will be played out. The other, of course, is that every Essendon player will again today be tested for coronavirus. But what they have to do, Essendon, is try and work out how the hell they're going to field a team, at least a competitive team against Carlton this weekend, because whilst at this stage we don't know how many people exactly Conor McKenna came in contact with at the club, we do know that the entire back line virtually had a gym session session indoors, so you can virtually wipe that out for this weekend. And then he had a full contact session with the rest of the playing group on the Friday as well. And the vision which TV cameras picked up is quite clear. He did have body-on-body contact. Now, as part of the protocols put in place by the AFL, each of the club's training sessions are filmed independently, and that's what they'll be sifting through as well. So it's a complete mess at the moment for Conor McKenna in particular, but the Essendon Football Club in general and the AFL.
Absolutely, Tony. What do we think about moving the entire comp to the west, to Perth?
Well, I'm not entirely sure they want us, Alex, because what they're saying over there at the moment is that the bulk of the cases for coronavirus nationally are here in Victoria. So if you're the West Australian Premier, Mark McGowan, why would you be rolling out the welcome mat to anyone from Victoria? Let's be honest about it. So that's another thing that the AFL is going to have to try and consider is what do we do about these hubs? Do we move clubs to the West, which is great in theory, but as I said, the West don't particularly want anyone from Victoria as it stands at the moment because we are seen as the corona state.
Yeah. Should we just press pause on the entire competition for 2 weeks? Is that what should happen here?
Well, look, it's hard to know because, look, what I fear is one more case might just be curtains for the competition this year because the draw already is a complete mess. You had one game yesterday postponed. That's got to be played at a later date. Then you get into clubs that are having to have only a 4 or a 5 day rest, etc., etc., etc. That could have ramifications on the finals. Essendon, is it fair that the Bombers do actually go in with a second-rate team against Carlton this week? I don't think it is because those footballers who trained with Conor McKenna in the gym on Saturday or Friday of last week, they were completely unaware. For all intents and purposes, everyone at that club was clean because the footballers are, as we know, going through 2 tests every week. They're almost under house arrest. They can't leave their home unless they're going shopping or to training. So they're doing everything right. So why should they be penalised because one player has slipped up?
Yeah, I agree. Hey, can we talk about a positive from the weekend, Tony? What was the biggest positive for you? The Gold Coast Suns, surely.
Well, the corona test was a big positive, I've got to say, Alex. But look, Gold Coast. That is. It doesn't get any more positive than that. But look, I think Gold Coast is a great story, isn't it? I mean, from the mess that is the AFL draw at the moment, for a club that has been the cellar dwellers, almost the laughingstock of the competition, suddenly we're all just sitting up now and thinking, wow, this is actually a pretty exciting team to watch, and they were yesterday. But unfortunately, if you dig a little bit deeper, you think to yourselves, well, what advantage are they having by playing at home and playing teams that are in this hub and might have some sort of psychological disadvantage? But look, don't take anything away from the Gold Coast. They're playing a beautiful brand of football at the moment. They've got one of the best recruits going around in Rao. So, look, everything's looking up for them. We just hope that it can continue. We hope that the season in general can continue.
Yeah, hear, Tony. Thanks for your time this morning.
Okay, see you, mate.
TJ in a very positive frame of mind this morning.
Very positive.
Unusually happy.